What's up guys, Tom with Verus Engineering, and today we're going to be installing the rear diffuser for the Shelby GT350R. Okay, tools we're going to need in order to do this. You're going to need a 3/8 ratchet, you're going to need an extension. I like to use a 13mm universal socket. You'll also need a regular 13mm 3/8 drive socket, some touch-up paint, panel popper or clip removal tool. We'll need a body saw. You can also use a cutoff wheel if you want to use that to cut out the holes for the differential cooler. We'll need a step bit to make sure that we have a nice radius on those cutouts, and then an 1/8 inch drill bit and a 1/4 inch drill bit to precede the step bit, center punch for said drill bits, a ratchet. I like to use a 1/4 inch ratchet on the 10mm stuff, 10mm socket, 4mm Allen socket or Allen key. Then of course you'll need a drill for your drill bits. Separately, for the rivet or riv nut installation tool, we're going to need a 5mm Allen socket or Allen key, and you'll need a 9/16 open-ended wrench. All right guys, so the first step is to jack the vehicle up so you can get access to the underside of the car, make sure it's secured properly. Then the next thing we're gonna do is unbolt the factory diffuser panel, and that's gonna be held on with two 10mm head bolts in the rear here and two 10mm bolts in the front. They're gonna be facing towards the rear of the car. There'll be a number of push clips here. And once you have all of that removed, you can basically go ahead and take this diffuser panel down. I've already undone all the bolts and most of the clips, so I'm going to pull this diffuser panel down right now. So once the rear diffuser panel is down and off of the car, we're going to have to cut or sand or break or drill the rivets holding the rear differential cooling duct off so that we can separate the two pieces from each other. And we're going to be taking the OEM ductwork that is currently on the car and transferring it onto your brand new diffuser. Okay, so the OEM diffuser panel is going to look something like this. It's going to be held in, the ductwork is going to be held into the diffuser panel by a number of rivets that are around the perimeter of the actual ductwork. At this point, you're going to want to basically snip off the back side or this side of the rivet with a pair of cutters, or you could drill them out if you'd like. I opted for the cutters. I thought it was a little bit quicker. Drilling is going to be a little bit more time consuming, but it will ultimately be easier on your forearms if you have tendonitis like I do. Fun. So once we get that off, you're going to be left with something like this. The OEM rear diffuser panel is going to go away. We're not going to use that anymore. And so all we're going to be focusing on is this. And essentially we're going to be trimming this down at about this mark here in order to fit onto the new Verus rear diffuser. And to do that, we're going to have to cut out the templates that are provided with the kit. And so I'm going to show you that now and show you how to install them onto the diffuser so that you could get this all cut out correctly. All right guys, so here's the template that you would have received with the diffuser kit. Basically, we're going to want to cut these out. Make sure you cut out the center rib point here, and you're going to want to line this up with the strake that's going to center the template onto the diffuser. These are going to go around the two inner strakes on the diffuser itself. And as far as what we're going to be drilling here, basically we're going to drill out these 4 holes on each side or each template. I like to start with an 1/8 inch drill bit, step them out to a 1/4, and then use a step bit to take them out to 1 inch holes. You're going to want to center punch them first before you start drilling them with your 1/8 inch bit. These 2 holes here are basically what hold the strake into the diffuser panel. So you're going to want to center punch these as well, and then drill these out to a 1/4, first an 1/8 inch, and then you can drill them out to a 1/4 inch as well. And basically that is going to release the strake from the diffuser material or base. And once you have that all set up and drilled out, you can cut out the material using a cutoff wheel or a body saw, whatever you feel is necessary or whatever you have available to you. And once you're done, you'll end up with something similar to this. You'll notice that this flanged portion on the strakes on each side is pretty ugly now. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is basically cut off this flange. You can kind of see the silver part. We're gonna cut that off so that all you see is the straight strake in the duct passageway here. And once we cut that off, we're gonna go ahead and clean up all of these edges. We're gonna touch them up with some touch-up paint on the raw sides or anything that's exposed. And then we'll be ready to go ahead and install the diffuser. Okay, so in order to get this thing to the right length, because as it comes off the car, it is going to be too long to fit on the diffuser, we're gonna basically measure, what I did basically is take from this edge here, and I measured approximately 19 inches and mark that on the leading edge of the duct, tape it so that, make a tape line or use a marker, make sure it goes straight across the leading edge of the duct, and that will be the line that you cut. Once you have that marked, cut it straight across using a body saw or using a utility knife, whatever cutting device fits you the best. All right, so I just finished cutting the duct for the rear diff cooler. You can see I cut it here to the measurements that I stated previously. And what we're gonna wanna do in order to get this attached to the diffuser unit is basically measure the center line of the diffuser like I have here. You can't see it, but there is a mark here on that piece of blue tape. And with that, I basically lined up the center hole for the ductwork. I drilled that out to a 1/4 inch, and I placed a bolt in the center there just to keep the duct in place. That's going to help us basically hold the duct in place while we use a marker or a paint marker or a scribe, whatever you want to use, to mark all of the holes. We're going to drill these holes to first 1/8 of an inch, then we're going to drill them to a 1/4 inch, and that'll be good enough for the M6 bolts. I'm going to mark these out now, and then I'm going to go ahead and drill them and install the duct. But again, find center line on the diffuser, line the duct up, and line this center hole with the center line on the diffuser. Drill that hole, put a bolt through it. That keeps the duct in place. Mark all of the other holes, drill them to 1/8 of an inch, drill them to a 1/4 of an inch, and then we'll be able to install the duct fully onto the diffuser, and we'll get to installing the diffuser brackets shortly thereafter. Okay guys, for the front brackets that bolt up to the sway bar bracket, you may need to modify them. These are originally going to be square. I took the corners off of them. There is a lip on the sway bar bracket that basically prevents this from sitting in there flush. And so I just took the corners off so that it sits in there correctly. Obviously you're going to want to touch these up so that, you know, they don't corrode over time, but just for dramatic effect to show you how I did it or what I did here, this is what you'll end up needing to do. We're going to remove the 13mm head bolt for the rear sway bar bracket. We're going to remove the rear bolt. See that there? Then we're going to move over to the exhaust hanger, and we're going to remove the upper bolt that is on the side of the frame rail. You can see there, again, both 13mm heads. Take those both out, and then move over to the outside here. This is where your outer bracket is going to go. We're going to remove these two pop clips with either if you have the correct tool, a panel popper tool, clip removal tool, or a flathead screwdriver, whichever makes it easiest for you. And then we're going to install those with the two M6 button head cap screws, and we've got a little 50-50 action going on here, so I can show you. Here is the front bracket installed on the sway bar bracket, and we've got the rear bracket installed with that exhaust hanger bracket bolt. Need this thing to focus. And we've got the outer bracket installed with the two M6 button head cap screws. Then we're going to take the rear brackets and we're going to slip over an M6 fold nut and try to get it in the middle as best you can. Okay, and basically, again, this is going to help with installing the rear diffuser so that you don't have to fumble around with too many things as it goes up. Now, as you can see, while I rotate this thing around and play with it in my hand, there is a little bit of a bend here. It will not be bent from us because of the way the exhaust is situated on the GT350R. You will want to bend it around the exhaust hanger slightly, which you can kind of see here, just like that. I recommend bolting it up to the bolt up there and then kind of just pushing it over to bend it around the exhaust hanger, and that should give you enough clearance there to install it to the diffuser. Here are the two M6 plastic rivet nuts. You'll notice the holes, they're on this inside lip, and you'll notice they are spread out with one in the middle. We're not going to use these two bolts like the traditional S550 setup. So again, we're gonna drill these out to 3/8 of an inch, and then we're going to use our rivet nut installer tool in order to get these installed correctly. Real quick rundown, you're basically going to insert the bolt portion, this guy, which is a 5mm Allen, and you're going to put it through the installer tool or the holdback, which is this black piece here. That is going to be where your 9/16 wrench goes, and you're going to thread the bolt into the rivet nut here, like I have shown. You're going to hold, you're going to hold the black portion or the hex portion with the 9/16 wrench, and you're going to start tightening the bolt head with your 5mm Allen wrench or Allen socket, and you're going to keep going until you feel pretty significant resistance, or until you can see that the fins here on the rivet nut are crushed sufficiently, and then you'll have a perfectly installed rivet nut. Okay, we've got the rear differential duct bolted up onto the diffuser with the button head cap screws that are supplied. And now we're going to move on to getting on the mounting hardware to get this thing on the car. So what you'll see here is our 70mm button head cap screw, that's an M6, with the 3 spacers stacked on top of the diffuser. And then we've got the M6 push nut on top that's basically holding it in place. That way you don't have to, you know, fumble around with spacers as this thing is going up into the car. You're going to do that on both sides where the rear brackets are supposed to bolt up. All right, guys, there you have it. That's how you use the cut templates for the rear differential cooler on the GT350R rear diffuser. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, be sure to email us at sales@verus-engineering.com. Until next time, and we'll see you later.